Welcome to Real Estate Talk, where we're tackling your questions about real estate. Today's question is, how can I buy a house with no down payment?
Well, first of all, is it possible? Yes, it is so possible to buy a house with no down payment, Joe. And I'm really excited about this topic today because I've said this on past episodes. Sometimes people count themselves out of the game before even it starts, right? So this is an opportunity to for buyers really to explore options to make home buying that much more affordable. Home buyers can buy a house with no down payment with certain loan types like a VA loan or USDA loan, or if you're a first-time home buyer, there are a lot of local programs available to make the home buying process easy and affordable. So, Joe, you want to talk options?
This is a big myth, Courtney, that you need 20% down to buy a house. We've talked about different loans in the past too, but there are no down payment loans available. So let's talk about VA loans, because I think when we think about no down payment, that's probably the biggest bucket of loans that we're talking about. And these are backed by the Department of Veteran Affairs. It's for active duty service members, veterans, past and current members of the National Guard or Reserve, spouses of deceased veterans are included in that, and other beneficiaries that meet eligibility criteria for a VA loan. You probably see some commercials about this from time to time too. So just a little bit about what you'll need to qualify for this, other than, of course, your background, is you need a credit score of at least 580 to 620, a debt to income ratio of at or below 40%. And even with no down payment, there are still some fees that are attached to getting these loans. We find that it ranges anywhere from like 1.25 to 3.3% and replaces the need for private mortgage insurance.
For sure. And I want to explore another loan product that people should kind of consider when they're thinking about no down payment, and that's the USDA loan. So we still have a lot of areas in Texas that qualify for these types of loans. They are backed by the U.S. Department of Agriculture and can be great for buyers purchasing in certain rural or suburban areas. Here's what you need to qualify. The property must be located in a qualifying rural or suburban area. We'll link the eligibility map in the description below. When you think USDA, you probably think farm, okay? But it's really important to know that your home cannot be a working farm to qualify for a USDA loan. It has to be your primary residence. In terms of credit score, debt to income ratio, you need at least a 640 or higher credit score. Debt to income ratio has to be at or below 40%, similar to the VA product. And your income cannot exceed 115% of the area's median income. Okay, so make sure you take a look at the link in the description below. Joe, can you share some pros and cons of zero down mortgages?
Yeah, for sure. Just lead it off with speed to home ownership. If you're not spending, in some cases, years saving for that down payment, this is a great option where you could become a homeowner faster. And if you do have some savings, even in that circumstance, and you're using one of these loans, well, that's just savings. So you can use that for non-down payment means. That also does help me segue into the cons, though, Courtney, which is, well, of course, you will have potentially a higher interest rate, which means higher monthly payments. But back to that last thread is you have no immediate equity. So one of the things about having a down payment is it chops right into that principal of the mortgage. And so it comes off the balance of the loan itself, where if you're putting 0% down, your starting balance is the price that you paid for the home. So there's no immediate equity in the property, but still a great option for a lot of people. So Courtney, what are some options for buyers who don't qualify for that zero down mortgage?
I'm so glad you asked, because it is important that buyers are doing their due diligence, right? Taking a moment to really explore options, but connect with a really good lender that explores all of these things. Because I think, Joe, when we talk about USDA or VA, or even what I'm about to share right now with FHA loans, sometimes it's just information overload. But it really is worthwhile to explore your options. So if somebody doesn't qualify for a zero down mortgage, let's talk FHA. It's backed by the Federal Federal Housing Authority. These loans offer as low as 3.5% down, as long as you have a credit score of 580 or higher. These loans also do require mortgage insurance premium. So that's something that you're going to pay on top of your principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Okay. Now, kind of segueing to other options for people that don't qualify for these type of mortgages is down payment assistance programs. Okay. There's a lot of people that immediately think, oh, what does the federal government have available? And, correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, I think a lot of these programs are more localized. Okay. So first time home buyers may qualify for certain programs in their city, in their state, sometimes their county. So look locally first if you're exploring these types of options. There's 3 different types of assistance programs. So one would be a loan, right? So often times they'll tack on a second mortgage as the down payment assistance. And they're typically deferred payment loans. So in some cases, the loan may partially or fully be forgiven after living in the home for a certain number of years, really depending on the program. Sometimes those second loans that are used for down payment are 0 interest as well. So you want to make sure you do your research. The other type of assistance is a grant, right? So grants typically cover closing costs, and they are forgiven after living in the home for a specific amount of time. And then the last option when it comes to down payment assistance is really credits, okay? These are also called mortgage credit certificates. They reduce what you pay in federal taxes by lowering how much you pay in interest on your mortgage. And we'll link more information on down payment assistance programs in the description below. Joe, based on your experience, where we've provided so much information on different loan products and down payment assistance programs, where should someone start right now, like after they stop watching this video?
Well, I love simple calls to action. So if you're working with an agent, of course, one of the reasons that Courtney and I know a lot about this is because we are practitioners, we're brokers. And so we would be a good place to start as your agent, just to start feeling these questions out at the beginning of the journey. And oftentimes that agent will say what I'm about to say next, which is, well, you should really start talking to the lender about these options because, they know best about what's available to different customers. And, it doesn't have to be one lender specifically. You could, especially at the beginning of the journey, talk to a few if you want to. It'll actually help you narrow down some of those other financing questions. Courtney, I didn't tell you this, but when you were going through the down payment assistance programs, I used down payment assistance for the first house I bought many years ago, but it was one of those deferred payment loans where it was a second mortgage, and it did have a forgiveness schedule where this was at the city level, was trying to encourage more people to get into home ownership there. And so it basically was this down payment assistance where after a certain amount of time spent in the home, it would be forgiven. I think it was like half after 5 years and then 20% more after that. So if you stayed there, 8 years, then it was completely forgiven. But it was an incredible option for me, especially starting out and trying to get into home ownership, where I'm a practitioner. So it's like, I want to buy a house, but super helpful. And for me then, and it would be true now, when we talk about starting point, it really was just talking to people in the city that I was thinking about moving to, or going to their city website to see if there's any down payment assistance available. So
that's awesome, Joe. Yeah, I didn't even know that. And tell me, it adds just a little bit to the process, but for you, was it smooth? Was it, what helped you navigate those additional requirements for that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a learning curve, especially because I was getting into homeownership for the first time. So I was still learning some things too. But I found that once the city had 2 approved lenders for this specific down payment assistance. So I spoke with both of them, and I really just went there and sat down, not a phone conversation. It was like, I need some time here to digest this. And so I went and met them in person, super helpful. And all along the way, just like you would with a normal transaction, they sort of brought me along into what the product was going to be. And then I literally could see on the county records after I was ready a homeowner, I could see that on the public records that it's like I had my mortgage and then I also had this down payment assistance. And I knew at some point that would fall off.
I love that, Joe. Thank you so much for sharing and dropping
Yeah.
these gems. You guys, we'll be back with another episode with tips to help you navigate this world of real estate. Let us know in the comments if you have any additional questions or need to be pointed in the right direction. Make sure you like and subscribe to our channel, and we will see you next time on our next video. Thanks so much.